Welcome to Munchin Dungeon. I'm Munchin Daster, and tonight we're talking about villains. Yep, that's right, the bad guys. We're going to be talking about different villains and monsters, how I use them in my campaigns, what I think about them, just stuff about them in general. And so what is a villain? It can be anything from a goblin, giant lizard, a lizard man convoy that just randomly attacks your town, or the complex evil duke who's been planning to overthrow the king, or your long lost arch enemy who's tracked you down. I mean, in a D&D game, villains are endless. The players can be the villains, right? I mean, it could be anybody. And then also, Dungeons and Dragons has no shortage of like cool monsters and different enemies and challenges that the players can face, with all different kinds of unique abilities and traits. But what makes a really good villain? A really good villain, just a bad guy in general. It doesn't even have to be the Archduke villain, but what makes a good bad guy is that it creates tension and challenge. And in Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition particularly, there's not a lot of it's not often scary. I mean, for the player character, it sometimes can be dangerous, right? But it's not often that it feels like terrifying. You have to have a really the right set of circumstances to make that happen, because it's sort of a combat simulator, and your character dies, you're like, oh, okay, but you're fine, right? To make a good villain, you have to be like attacking something that the characters really, or that the players really care about, right? One of the best villains I ever ran was a wizard named Sorbos, and basically I spent the first 2 months of a campaign just playing weekly, just to get them to build up this little region of the world. They built up little towns, they did quests around the area, renamed places. They had a library built with their name on it, and they had refurbished a castle and all this stuff. And they were loving it. And then I made the main character show up with a red dragon and start burning down their villages. And quickly he went from just like a bad guy who's a wizard to like a real threat to them, somebody that they really hated. And it created this super strong villain arc for him, because I made it where he was, really crunching down on their world, on stuff that they had invested their time in. It's not enough to just say, oh, the bad guy shows up and he's going to kill this random woman that he grabs up out of the bar, and you have to be the good guy and save her. That works in action movies because we value human life, so we see this random woman and go, oh, of course he's going to try to save her. But in Dungeons and Dragons, where everyone's imaginary and the players are murder hobos, they don't value you don't get an intrinsic value like that. You don't have a name. It's okay if you die. You're a red shirt. You know what I mean? So you have to give the players a reason to care about what the villain's doing that is scary, what they're doing that is harmful to them, how it's hurting their world, make them feel it. You know what I mean? Also, give the villains an attachment to the heroes. Give them something that makes it where it's like, it's not just, oh, you meddling kids happened up here in your van, something that's real, something like in that particular story I was just telling you about. Sorbus ends up, the evil wizard, he ends up being one of the player characters' father. Ends up being his father. Really crazy. It was a big twist. Really blew the lid off. I mean, that was a good session. Now, the villain's got to have its own motivation and his, attachment to the players, and he's got to have a reason why he wants what he wants, and he thinks he's the good guy. You know what I mean? Uh, and you want to customize it to fit, of course, the preferences of your story, but it's just something that you want to do. Um, anyway, what do you guys think about villains? Let me know. Comment, like, subscribe. Check me out on Patreon. Check me out on Dungeon Masters Guild. And thanks for listening.